What's up, everybody? It's another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best new metal adjacent quasi new metal podcast from two dudes who are really there. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With you, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how are we doing?
Great, feeling great.
Tim feels great. We're off to the start, folks. All right, and joining us from straight across the country, the other side of on the left coast, we have Austin from Drowner, and we have Garrett from Garrett and the Gray. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Hello.
We are stoked to have you because we're doing a topic that I probably can't even friggin' pronounce. So, Garrett, those of our fans of the show, remember we've had Garrett on before, and he brought up this topic, which is German, and I'm going to give it a shot. So feel free to jump in and correct me. Neue Deutsche Harte. Did I get that right?
Duetsche.
Neue Deutsche Harte.
Neue Deutsche Harte. Okay, so why don't you guys start with telling us what the hell we're actually talking about? Because I can't even get the pronunciation right.
You could just call it NDH.
Yeah, NDH.
Okay.
That's what people call it for short. That's kind of the abbreviated NDH. Neue Deutsche Harte is a topic that it's not widely known, and even amongst its like subcultures, it's not like if you find someone out there that is wearing an NDH band shirt, right? It's like very far and few in between, but it's been a genre that has really influenced Austin and I through the years. And I would say as far as like Americans go, we're somewhat experts. We've dove in and we've listened to
more than most people.
More than most people. And essentially what it is, I always describe it to where if like new metal, American new metal did a 23andMe test, like a DNA test, they would find out that they have a long lost brother, right? And essentially it's a German genre, primarily spoken in German. There's
literally on Wikipedia, they're like, it's almost always German.
Almost always German. There are a few bands that do sing in English, but German bands that essentially it's a genre adjacent to new metal that derives from many of the same influences.
Yeah.
But just geographically kind of those influences scattered differently.
Yeah, it basically like kind of the same intentions and the same like outsider kind of metal, and then they just took it in a different direction, like he said, because of the inspiration they were getting.
Yeah.
It's like you think Europe and you think of like Euro pop and techno that
right.
Literally just that stuff being more popular there. It was like the same branch, but then they took that direction and ran with it, and like some of the same like counterculture attitude and like kind of everything being kind of parody and making fun of everything all at once.
Yeah, in some ways it's like the closest thing to country music for Germany. Which sounds funny, but like truly in the way that it's presented, there's no music that is presented to be more like German.
Yeah.
In its presentation. It's very interesting.
So before we met up, I was like reading up, like the Wikipedia honestly gives you a really good summary of like kind of where it came from and what distinctly like most critics like characterize it as. And I was just like making some observations to him.
Yeah.
And like the biggest one that I've always like subconsciously known it when I listened to it, but I didn't fully recognize exactly what they were doing. But they're like intentionally parodying what like say like an elitist German man like thinks of himself and like who he thinks he should be.
Or almost they're projecting what they feel the rest of the world Germany as.
They're like they're leading into the stereotype. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So guys, let me ask you this. Help us understand, help our listeners understand timelines. So when you say new metal, right, my first thought is Korn album comes out in 96. New metal really starts to really peak around 98, 99. By 2003, we've hit third wave and it's off to the races, right? We're on a downslope here. Comparatively to that timeline, when does this stuff start coming about?
Barrett's going to know that.
So I'm even going to roll it back to the earliest influences from Neue Deutsche Harte. And I think this influence also stemmed big influences for new metal, and where this kind of influence stemmed off and where we got these two different subgenres. So 1970s, there's a band that comes out in Germany called Kraftwerk. Are you two familiar?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
So Kraftwerk has been named one of the most influential bands of all time, almost up there in conversation with the Beatles, right? But like vastly different than the Beatles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so from Kraftwerk, you have this huge influence into 1980s new wave, right? Kraftwerk 70s, new wave 1980s, right? And you also have this thing outside of Kraftwerk in the 70s and 80s, you know, punk rock. I think you guys have heard of punk rock.
Just a little, yeah.
Exactly, right? And so we have new wave happening in the 80s, punk rock in the 70s. You have the Ramones and all those amazing bands. That kind of gets heavier, turns into hardcore. Hardcore kind of turns into thrash, and thrash kind of turns into what we know as like metal incarnate, right? It's like that turned into like what we know when someone thinks metal and they think Metallica, it's kind of where that's at. And that kind of happens in the late 80s, early 90s, right? And so from the new wave sector, new wave kind of turns into industrial. Industrial takes what it wants from new wave and it takes what it wants from punk, right?
Okay, now I'm starting to see the genesis, right? So here you have things showing up like
right.
Einsters and Neubauten, right? Like you're starting to see that really like, hey, let's bang on concrete with a hammer, right? Yeah,
exactly.
We're making a left here, buddy. Hang on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that happens in the late 80s, early 90s with industrial, right? We start seeing Nine Inch Nails and all these amazing industrial German bands as well. What's that German band we were listening to a ton? That's like a huge Rammstein influence.
Oomph?
There was Oomph, but no, it was before. It was like that Czech band.
Oh, they're on my phone.
They're amazing. And well, you think about it.
Yeah.
So essentially, Kraftwerk, new wave, industrial, 1980s, 1990s, right? And industrial is kind of a mix of new wave and punk and that hardcore, right? And then Kraftwerk also in the 1990s, like Dr. Dre talks about huge influence coming from Kraftwerk with his beats, his hip hop beats, right? So if you're on the American side of things, in the mid 90s and the 2000s, you have this genre coming that mixes a little bit of hip hop, it mixes metal, it mixes industrial and a little bit of alternative, and that's what culminates into American new metal, right? So that's what's happening on this side of thing, 1994 and 1995, right? In Germany, right, it was like they missed the whole alternative scene. They missed the whole funk scene. It went
and like hip hop.
Exactly, hip hop, right? There's some hip hop elements in DH, but it's very much its own thing. So you get Kraftwerk, you get new wave, which influences industrial with a little bit of that punk rock, and there's a lot of German punk rock as well. And then that industrial in the late 90s and the early 2000s, that's where Germany starts taking their own thing that they have there, especially with the big Kraftwerk influence. They mix it with metal. And then in those mid 90s, around the same time, 1994, 1995, you get your first Neue Deutsche Harte album, which in my opinion is Oomph Sperm. It's a Oomph. It's a Oomph.
What a terribly Oomph, and the album is Sperm. Yeah, I read that. I'm like, wait a minute, Sperm.
Totally.
Oh, okay.
And so that
Germany
happens in. That happens in 1994, I believe. So a mix of new wave, industrial. They take that metal influence from America and they make Neue Deutsche Harte. And it's interesting, like as far as heavy music in Deutschland, it has dominated heavy Deutschland music since that time. And it's evolved since then as well.
But I think it's the difference is they latched onto like industrial and techno elements. And they kept more of the new wave influence too.
Big time, especially with the beats.
And then that stuck around, and then they took all the same kind of metal influence and melded it in. So you have like one half that's the same, then the other half is completely different. And it steers in. It's weird because it's in the same vein when you listen to it. It's like a completely different branch.
And you think to yourself, what makes it different? And then vocally, they get a lot of influence from those other European industrial bands. Right? So they're like, okay, these European industrial bands are singing super low. That will sound really good in German, but we're going to incorporate heavy guitars, bingo bongo, Neue Deutsche Harte.
If you do that in English, you just get...
think about it. You hate me. It's like, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. So there's something about it that's extremely unique, and it is interesting to think like there hasn't really been an American band that has dove into that genre. But at the same time, I think if people really listen, one of the things that really sets apart Neue Deutsche Harte compared to American nu metal at that time, like if you listen to that 1994 Oomph record, which they've long time been self-produced, right? They did not have the financial backing. But one thing that you'll notice, and maybe it's that German culture, like more like perfectionism, elitism, the quality of these records are unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like consistently, even when they're self-produced.
Well, and I
kind of crazy.
And I think it's just the perfectionism to which they play, right? Like the drums are just on, the guitars are just perfect. And so, yeah, that's kind of the history of it and where it stemmed.
So,
Yeah.
Tim,
I'm
let me
going to
ask
ask you this. Yeah.
Okay, you go first.
I'm going to ask. So for the average listener of this podcast that might be interested in this stuff, what is the one band that they get that you say go listen to? Is it going to be Rammstein?
Interesting. That's a really good question. So Rammstein, yeah,
I mean, because Garrett knew about a lot of this before me, and he introduced a lot of this to me in high school. So I like from my experience, I would say like Rammstein. Rammstein is the one.
Yeah,
that's where you want to dip your toes in, because the coolest thing about Rammstein is they've stuck with the genre, but they've evolved a lot. So if you listen to their first album compared to like the albums that came out in the last couple of years, it still sounds like them, but they've evolved, and so you see the spectrum of like what that genre can do. But if you want to get into like, I would say into the more the core of what it is, I would probably say Oomph.
Probably Oomph, yeah.
Because they were like the first ones to do it, and they sounded more consistent over the years.
Oomph is like the granddaddy, but like it's weird because Rammstein in a lot of ways has transcended the genre. They're still very much the genre, but like all of these Neue Deutsche Harte bands will like tour together and promote each other. Rammstein does not. They do not like.
Yeah, they kind of break the mold.
They're like, cool guys, great for you, Neue Deutsche Harte. Yeah, we're a part of it, but we're Rammstein.
Yeah.
Right? And I think Rammstein is one of the few bands that crossed over into American nu metal, right? Like at the time.
Because I think if you ask the average person that is probably our age, I mean, I'm 40.
Right.
If I'm thinking of a nu metal German band, I'm gonna say Rammstein.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, is it Rammstein? How do you even really say that band name?
Rammstein.
It's Rammstein. Yeah. Okay. Rammstein.
They have a song. They break it down. They literally go Rammstein.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very.
So I'm adding. I should add an M instead of Ram. It's Ram. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just think of the song where he's like Rammstein. So I wanted to ask you, Tim.
Yeah.
The way Austin and Garrett described it, like as they were walking through the history of this genre, I could kind of hear it in my head. If you hadn't have said Rammstein, I probably would have said, okay, so you're basically meaning like Rammstein. Like the way they talk through, you start with you go back to the new wave stuff, and then you have the splintering, and it's things the diverge, converge, diverge, converge. I can see where the sound ended up where it ended up.
Yeah, well, it's kind of on the same. I guess you could compare to if you compared like American industrial music, and the first thing you're going to think of, someone is obviously going to say, "Oh, 9 Inch Nails," but then if you really get into it, it's like Skinny Puppy, shit like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Chem Lab. Like you're going backwards. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would say that's a really good analogy.
Yeah, it's kind of the same way too. It's like if you get into some of the other bands and you do a deep dive, you'll find bands that have stuck more with the core of it, and they sound inherently more old school because they're kind of sticking with the roots of where the genre came from. And then other bands, they push it and they either get more metal or they get more just straight up industrial.
Totally. And Rammstein has just become more Rammstein, right? And even like, you look at the nu metal subreddits, and like it's really interesting. Like no one really talks about Rammstein. Huge band, sells a ton of albums, sells a ton of tickets, but they're not really. Are they nu metal? They're like their own thing. And I think mostly Neue Deutsche Harte kind of claims Rammstein, but yet Rammstein doesn't really claim Neue Deutsche Harte. It is kind of like new metal bands and new metal. Some of them claim new metal, some of them
right.
like, no.
Some of them avoid the term like the plague, even though they are solidly sonically in that.
Exactly.
You're in the lane. You can say you're not a duck. It's a duck. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So in the genre, I know when Rammstein, I'm going to get it right this time, when they first came around, I mean, because I'm sure you guys, I don't even know why I own this thing, but I know I own it. It's like a double disc DVD Rammstein thing. It's like concerts from around the world, and that is some wild shit. Like, because I remember back in the day when they first toured the U.S., it was like they had like the dildo and it would shoot cum everywhere, and everybody was offended. Blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
dude.
Oh, it was awesome. It was so good.
Is that like part of the genre over there? It's just to be fucking silly and do weird shit, or is it what is that just Rammstein being just them? Because to me, it seems like when you think of like new wave in the United States, it was all, you know, when you think of it, they all look the same. They had the glam thing going on, whether you want to believe it or not, because they really did. They had the makeup, they had the tight clothes, all that shit. But like, it seems like maybe that band. Well, what I'm thinking is, did they push like the weirdness, or is that just them being singular to them? You know, do you get what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. Well, Oomph is pretty freaking weird too. And I think what it kind of did the same thing new metal did, where it was like like in our new metal, you get a lot of the like characters and they create like animated versions of themselves or costumes and things like that.
Or like the way they dress and like the
way they dress. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. So yeah, NDH, what I was saying, like with the kind of parody of themselves, is they're doing it to like make a point a lot of the time. And I think the part of the reason that whole genre has been so outlier is because a lot of people don't catch the satire, and they're touching on really shocking like European motifs and things like that. So a lot of people think they're promoting it, dressing in like Nazi costumes or like looking like dictators or like spraying a giant cock on the whole crowd. And like they talk about a lot of shocking things very openly, but as in the purpose of parodying it, of like, you guys are so afraid of talking about this stuff.
That's a great point. For the American audience, because and for the American audience, because we don't understand the language, right? We miss the boat entirely that when Rammstein comes out in a almost Gestapo uniform and they start beating the keyboardist on stage, it is meant to be satirical, but we don't, because there literally is something lost in translation. We don't see that, right? Like, so when Rammstein first came out, my first thought was, you know what the first band I thought of was? Honestly, Leibach. Because same presentation,
Leibach,
right? And then I Googled before, they had their thing called the Neue Slowenisch, they had their own thing, right? From Slovenia.
Oh yeah, we were reading about that.
Yeah, which is really kind of, I mean, because they have the hat with the flaps, and but I mean, again, there's something lost for us Americans in the aspect of parody where we don't pick up on that because we don't understand. Like, to Tim's point, we saw the guy pull out the dick and spray water everywhere, and everyone was like, "Well, that's great," not realizing that it was meant to make a joke out of the culture they're representing.
Exactly.
Even in Europe, there's a lot of Europeans and Germans who are like offended by it because they think they're promoting whatever it is they're doing, and it's extreme parody to like bring it to attention a lot of the time.
What's really interesting is shock rock in the US is shock rock, and you will shock some like, religious groups and really conservative groups. Like, Marilyn Manson will do that. In Germany, it is like 100% illegal to promote some of these ideals, right?
Oh yeah, so, like, you'd get arrested. Yeah.
You will get arrested, right? So like Rammstein and other Neue Deutsche Harte bands, when they parody this stuff, when they try to poke the bear, like their albums are like, nope, can't sell the albums anymore.
Yeah.
Like so many Rammstein albums have been pulled out of Germany. It's crazy. But what's really interesting, and that's kind of the way, what I said earlier, to where it's kind of the most closest thing to country music in Germany, to where country music in America sings a lot about America and American pride and the way of life.
And fully embodying it. Almost to the point of parody.
Almost to the point of parody, right? But Rammstein,
almost to the point where, not to cut you off, but I want to make this point. The country thing that you're talking about, it's almost to the point where people are offended now at it because it's like you're promoting like, I mean, people say what racism.
It's so American. It's so American that we've come full circle. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So exactly, Rammstein, exactly the same ideal. But when Rammstein does that, like the government is like, we need to arrest these guys. Are they being serious? Like, are they promoting neo-Nazism, or are they being? But what's nice is like when Rammstein gets so close, they know how their artistry, they know how to pull it back. Like they have a song on their Mutter album called Links, and Links means left. And so the Nazi party in Germany is known as the Right Party, right? Mm-hmm. In the song, they say they want my heart to be on the right side, but when I look down, my heart marches links. My heart marches left, right?
Yeah.
So they spell it out sometimes, but they've gotten to the point where it's like the government wants to ban their albums.
Yeah,
and it's not just them, and it honestly in recent. And I think a lot of what's happening here too, people can't understand parodies, and they can't understand satire, right?
Yeah.
Humor has changed so much that even in Germany, there's a serious talk about these Neue Deutsche Harte bands. That's like, guys, we know that you're parodies and it's been good fun, but we're going to need to tone it back because there's a huge population that does not get it.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. I mean, well, how much of that cancel culture stuff is over there as well? Because you don't, because I don't hear anything about that. But I mean,
it exists. I mean, I have a few friends who are over in Europe, and they say that they import American culture in the sense of all the stuff that goes on here. It eventually goes its way across the pond. It hits the UK first, then it hits mainland Europe. So they for whatever reason, they import all the fucked up things about our culture, which is kind of amusing, right? Like kind of amusing. But you're not wrong, Garrett. The laws that they have in Germany around, like even talking about Nazism and Nazi beliefs, like if you even espouse some of this stuff in public, it literally is grounds to be arrested because they do not want They do not want a repeat of the past, even though time is a flat circle and it all comes around again.
Totally.
Well, I would think it would be different. Not to call you off, I'm sorry, but I would think for some reason that it would be different in Germany. Like they would be like, "Fuck it, we did it. Like let's support it." But
they take the way we treat like the Old Glory, right? The Confederate flag. The way we treat it, where for the longest time in this country, it was one of those things where, some people bring it up and you don't want to hide it. You want to acknowledge that this was part of your history and let's not do this again. Some would argue, I would argue that they have swung the pendulum too far. And by outlawing the topic, much like a child whose parents say, don't do that, you then generate more. It's the Streisand effect. You generate more interest. And then it's think about it. When we wanted to be edgy against our parents, I shaved my head, I got my eyebrows pierced. Like that was my rebellion. Over there, what do they do to rebel? Well, they start goose stepping around in knee-high boots and bringing up questionable political topics that not a good look, man, not a good look. So speaking of that, guys, obviously the name is German. Is this a truly German thing, or did it? Much like country music, when you see like the cowboy aesthetic that made its way down to Central America, right? The Canadians don't have cowboys, they have Mounties. It's too cold up there. But like you can see the American cowboy aesthetic made its way through Mexico into Central America. Has this made its way into other parts of Europe, or is it truly a German construct, German thing?
I would say in a lot of ways it's made its way into parts of like American subcultures and like goth culture.
Okay.
Yep. There's apparently like a Spanish band that's like Neue Deutsche Harte. Like, I think it's found its way, but it's just not. It is. I would say it's mostly strictly German. Like the way in fully embodying the genre.
Truly.
Like most of the time they're German bands. Like because it just seems like a lot of other places don't fully get it. Not enough for it to be widespread.
Yeah, well, and it's true. I think that German language barrier, like as far as like Rammstein has sang in English, and it's not super great.
Yeah, it's not.
No, it sounds weird. It sounds weird.
You're right.
I
have heard that, and I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Totally.
Go back to the German. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I encourage a lot of my new metal friends to listen to Neue Deutsche Harte because especially now with what's happening with modern metal, it's interesting because like you listen to the new metal of the 2000s, which right now has this huge upswing in popularity, and there's also this new modern metal culture that is getting more popular, which is interesting. And I think if people listen to Neue Deutsche Harte, there is so much influence in modern metal from Neue Deutsche Harte, the precise rhythms and just the way things are even edited and recorded. It's very fascinating. And what's really interesting too is like as far as like because Austin and I are both like home recording people. Like we have our studios, but they're self-built. Like Neue Deutsche Harte bands like and Icebrecher and Megahertz, like they've been recording from home in their home studios for decades because simply they haven't had the funding, but yet they have some of like I could truly say some of the best quality records that have come out.
Yeah.
So there's some passion that you can really hear in the production of this, and I think that's bleeding into kind of what's going on right now. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, aside from Rammstein, are there still bands that are picking up this sound either overtly or inadvertently? Like, are there bands that are still carrying the banner for NDH and saying, "Yo, this is our team, and we're carrying the banner for the team"? Like, is there still stuff coming out that's doing that sound, carrying the like we talk about new metal, right?
Yeah.
And people carrying the new metal torch. Are there bands carrying the NDH torch over there?
Yeah, there's like the big like four.
Yeah,
really.
there's the big four, and there are some new ones that haven't gained as much steam as the big four. But the big four are still out there playing festivals, still playing Wacken or Wacken, and I mean, and yeah, they're cool. And if anyone was telling me, it's like, what is the most quintessential Neue Deutsche Harte band that's kind of in the club of Neue Deutsche Harte? Personally, my favorite is Icebrecher. I love Icebrecher. They are quintessential, like to their core, Neue Deutsche Harte, and they have some amazing songs.
How do I spell this? I'm going to put this in my Apple Music.
Yes, Eisbrecher, Icebrecher, and it means icebreaker.
The funniest thing about German is it sounds like an English word. A lot of the time, it means the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just spelled so interestingly. So, but you guys talked about the big four. Who are the big four?
So Rammstein.
Right.
So we'll go in order of history. We'll go in order of history. So because Rammstein has even said that they drew influence from Oomph. So Oomph 1994 Sperm was like the official first Neue Deutsche Harte album. That was where before, and they had an album before where they were more industrial. And then there were some tracks that are really industrial, and then there's some tracks that are more like Metallica, metal.
Yeah.
But then in Sperm, they were like, you know what, we're gonna combine industrial with the heavy guitars, kind of find this niche. And so after that, 1995, 1996, Rammstein, so the next out of the four, released their debut. And I mean, Rammstein was, I mean, they were really smart from the get-go. They knew they wanted to break out. Like they named themselves after an American air base, right? They adopted a lot of
really?
Rammstein American Air Base. They adopted a lot of antics that they knew they kind of were the ones that brought like, hey, we're German. We're gonna sing in German. We're gonna be the most German Germans we can ever German.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And so then the next band I would say would be Megahertz. Megahertz is probably the most like they're very Neue Deutsche Harte, but they have some hip hop element. I would say there's an influence from like Falco, Rock Me Amadeus. They actually do a cover of Rock Me Amadeus that's super sick. And then the band after that is Icebrecher. And I would say Icebrecher really, they kind of took the torch and they're like, what can we do to perfect this quality wise and kind of take things to just like embodied level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm seeing on this Icebrecher band. I'm just gonna say Icebreaker because I cannot pronounce this shit.
Yeah.
Tim has trouble with English. German, forget it. We're off.
Similar artists. We have Megahertz.
Yeah.
How about Stallman?
Oh yeah, Stallman. They're a newer Neue Deutsche Harte band.
Then we have Held Machine.
Oh yeah, Held Machine, which means hero machine.
And then Lindman, I know that's a dude from Rammstein.
Yeah, that's his solo
It's
project.
not good.
Yeah, it's not. The only good thing about that band is Peter from that goddamn other band that
From Pain.
From Pain and then Hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And then I see Ost plus Front.
I've never heard of that.
See, so there's a lot of new Neue Deutsche Harte bands that like it's still predominantly like if people listen to heavy music in Germany, like that's what they're listening to. Neue Deutsche Harte.
Yeah.
How about Emigrate?
Oh, Emigrate.
Oh yeah, Emigrate is the guitarist from Rammstein.
That's
like
a cool
solo.
band.
And it's really cool.
It's actually really cool. I would say if somebody wants to hear really good, like I would say it's more American new metal.
It's like if Breaking Benjamin was German.
Yeah,
it's
it is.
Like if Breaking Benjamin was Neue Deutsche Harte.
Jeez.
It's like if Breaking Benjamin was Neue Deutsche Harte. That's the best way to describe it.
Right?
But like maybe a bit more vibey.
It's a little more alternative. Like he has like a lot more ballady stuff.
Yeah. And his vocals are weird.
Weird voice.
But
it fully like embraced. And I think he produces all that shit himself.
If you want to hear some of the heaviest guitars that can ever be produced to Emigrate, like his guitar tone.
Dude, he has...
Oh, we could nerd out over that.
Have you guys seen his guitar, his home guitar amp, like miking machine?
Well, again, so bringing it back to new metal, like new metal is known for its heavy distortions, right? Rammstein, Icebreaker, Oomph, they're known for just like, how do we make the guitar sound as fat as possible? And Richard from Rammstein, aka Emigrate, has cracked that code. And he has married sound and technology, and it's unbelievable. You can watch documentaries about this guy's guitar tones, and he has like a robot in his studio that manipulates the microphone. He controls it, and he had a machinist build it so he can just mic it ever so perfectly. And then like what's the guitar rig? Who makes guitar rig? Native Instruments.
Yeah.
Native Instruments, a German band, came and like modeled their whole guitar rig after his microphone. The guy's a mad genius.
Yeah.
Well, we always think about. That's pretty funny coming from two studio guys because that guitar rig sounds like shit.
Dude, some of it does. Some of it does. But some of it is. It's getting there.
Yeah, I actually use a lot of the effects in Guitar Rig. I don't really use the amps.
Yeah, or the compression. Some of those.
The compression. I use a lot of the effects to mix. But they modeled his guitar setup and made like an amp model of it that sounds really good. It sounds just like Rammstein.
Well, and knowing Richard, like he would not sign off on it if it was not.
Yeah, if it wasn't close.
Like, yeah.
I mean, I would go as far as saying the Amplitude stuff sounds better than that shit.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There's some good Amplitude stuff too. There's some really good stuff.
Yeah, the new one is great, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love that.
But Jay is like, what the fuck are they talking about?
No, I follow exactly what you guys are talking about. I'm just still trying to figure out, like, I'm gonna go down a well. Like, I'm sitting here checking shit off on my Spotify.
That's
the new breed Spotify. Like,
totally.
these guys are talking, and I'm like, okay, add that. We're gonna listen to that tomorrow. We're gonna listen to that tomorrow. We're gonna listen to that tomorrow. I'm gonna end up calling Tim, and it's gonna be the most hilarious set of text messages back and forth. We're gonna be like, yo, are you listening to this? Because I'm listening to this. My brain is shot right now.
My phone has like 7 albums in it right now that I have to listen to.
Yeah.
You're going to start listening to that shit, and then you're going to realize how many bands are influenced by that.
Oh, my gosh.
Without even probably knowing.
Let me tell you,
especially American bands.
There is no way Disturbed has not listened to as much Neue Deutsche Harte as we have.
Yeah, especially that first Disturbed album.
That first Disturbed album is like very like just the idea they're like simple beats, heavy guitars, industrial influence,
syncopation,
very syncopated, low vocals. Like it's
probably the closest American album I can think of. To that genre.
Exactly, like actual American band.
Yeah.
Oh, so the syncopation is a big part of that genre.
Oh,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, like having like, because I mean, you hear a lot of the like 4 on the floor drums, like and then guitar just and then vocals mirroring it, or synth mirroring the guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like, it's a big part of it because I guess again the clubby music influence and like how much you hear of like syncopated overlapping rhythms and like industrial and club music is like a big part of it too.
I think a part of what makes Neue Deutsche Harte so heavy, and this is what you get in a lot of that first Disturbed album, is like usually metal drummers will hear a riff, and I'm guilty of this too. I drum like this, so you'll hear a riff and you'll hear kind of like and you're like, okay, this is how I'll drum.
Just mirror it,
just mirror it, right? And it's like in some ways that's kind of the path of least resistance heaviness. But in Neue Deutsche Harte, they're like, no, we're going to like, they find the heaviness and drawing back a little bit. So they're just totally fine with just going.
Yeah,
and just letting those drums resonate and be as fat as possible, and you get
so you're not getting a Fear Factor, you're getting the opposite.
You're getting more of a so think about so Austin nailed it right when he said 4 on the floor. Think about Du Hast, think about Got the Life, right? Those are heavier songs where it's literally 4 on the floor. That could be a dance song, right? Lay some synths over it, have KMFDM do the remix, and it's blowing up at every nightclub, right? Like so.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm really starting with only hearing Rammstein and not hearing any of these other bands. I'm really starting to put together the sound profile in my head. I will text you guys and let you know if what I'm thinking is what I'm actually hearing. But I have a funny feeling that we're not. The old what's it called? The term I've always heard is it's the Teutonic rhythm, right? It's that stompy march, almost like again, troops marching, tanks rolling. I mean, mental picture aside. That's what I think of. And you saying 4 on the floor, I'm like, that's it. That's it. Because I didn't understand where it came from dance music, right? And where it came from the whole, their hardcore, like the Rotterdam and the shit where the what was it? The ecstasy was cut with speed and not with barbiturates, right? So all that like happy hardcore shit where it's like, what's his name? Omar Santana and all that really insane. Like I've got some of that shit on in my fucking Spotify. That's the stuff I play, and everybody's like, yo, turn this Euro trash shit off. But I love it. I love it, right? Where it's the horribly overdriven, like Anger Fist, or like who's the other guy who wears the Noise Kick from France, right? Like that, like hey, let's do really terrible drugs and stomp around till the sun comes up. Sold.
Perfect. And I think overdriven would be like if someone's new to Neue Deutsche Harte and they binge on it, they can probably say overdriven. The thing is, it's like
you bump all the treble.
Have you ever heard a song that plays the same riff for 5 minutes?
Yeah,
aggressively. Like,
and it's like even if it's not 4 on the floor, they're still playing like the drum will be like a back rhythm that reinforces like how you're supposed to be swinging, regardless of what the guitar is playing. So you could have a guitar playing its own riff, and the back rhythm is like reinforcing, like this is how you're supposed to move with it.
When I show musician friends,
which is cool.
Well, you do that. You get that in hip hop a lot too. Now that I'm thinking of it,
exactly. Yeah. Yep. Have a bass line or a lead doing one rhythm, and the drums are just providing their own beat.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Which is cool.
Yeah, but talking about Neue Deutsche Harte gets me excited about it because it's seriously some of the heaviest riffs. Like, I mean, they've inspired a lot of what I do.
Yeah,
I know a lot of what you do.
There's a lot of Rammstein in the new Drowner stuff that we're writing. The guys did not.
They don't get Rammstein.
They didn't get it, and they don't want it. But I'm like, I'm gonna weasel it in there.
You're like, guys,
you won't even know it.
Rammstein, like Rammstein. You got to stein those Roms.
Yeah. But there's more influence in there than I think they even know.
And they just go along with it.
Yeah. Austin and I, we've actually joined forces and we're working on an EP of a whole new project, which is definitely more Neue Deutsche Harte influence.
Yeah, it's
more
good.
Industrial influence. It's going to be super sick.
Yeah.
I wish we had a full demo to send you guys. We really thought maybe we could, but then we're too busy.
Yeah.
But it's going to be sick.
Too busy to set that clock the right way and the right time and back you too, huh?
Oh yeah, dude. It's only set to 6, 6 o'clock, man.
Well, and I know we're talking about NDH, but before this podcast ends, we got to talk about what both of you guys are working on, what's coming out, all that stuff. So don't forget we're going to talk about that stuff as well.
Yeah,
I think we should end with Drowner. You want me to go first?
Even could. Do you guys? Did you guys have any other questions or stuff lined up? on NDH?
I don't have any questions. I've got homework, and I'm definitely going to go to our chat and throw some responses after I start listening to some of this stuff. I will throw out too, before we go to what you guys are working on, to any of our people watching on YouTube or those listening, right? Reach out to us after you listen and you tell us, because I mean, we've covered obscure stuff here. This is an obscure genre in an obscure genre. Now, I mean, this is like we're almost at the Snow level in Inception, like down the rabbit hole, which is great because this is shit that nobody else is even remotely coming close to. So it's kind of really fascinating that I had the first time Garrett said it, he's like, "Hey, you guys want to talk about Neue Deutsche Harte?" And Tim goes, "Gesundheit." I'm like, I don't think he sneezed, dude. Like what did he say? Like, what did he like? Is he cursing at us in German? And Garrett said it like 3 times, and we're like, dude, it's not landing. And he's like, no, this is the German thing. Oh, okay. Well, now let's talk about it. So yeah, I can honestly say this has been really intriguing for me. I look forward to doing some further digging to really get in there.
Oh yeah,
this could be something really that I'm like, whoa.
Yeah,
I'm hoping people hear, if people go and dive into it, I'm hoping that they will start to hear the impact it has without them realizing it, and like, especially in nu metal, and especially what I've been noticing is a lot of the newer, like, you know, like the new deathcore that's kind of a thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those bands, like what's that one band? They're like, it's like Blood something. They're like,
you sent them to me.
Yeah,
you just sent them to me.
But I'm hearing a lot of that NDH stuff coming into like the newer, like heavy metalcore and like death, especially modern deathcore. And I hear it and I'm like, that's an NDH thing. Yeah. And I don't even think they realize what they're doing. And with like, but they're just bringing in industrial stuff and bringing in like really heavy tones, or like the freaking like just metal strike, from Slipknot, that type of sound.
Truly industrial, like metal sounds.
And so I would hope if you dive in it, you'll be like, oh my God, these guys were doing it years ago and we didn't even, realize we were absorbing it.
Totally. Right. And I'm truly hoping as people listen to it as musicians, because the amount that Oomph has inspired us, just knowing that they self-produce, has been exponential. And what's one I do love to touch on with Neue Deutsche Harte, it's like Rammstein, for their whole career, has never changed lineups, which is crazy.
Yeah, and they've been through some shit too.
Oomph just recently changed their lineup, very, very recently. But Oomph has been the same 3 guys predominantly for like close to 40 years.
Yeah,
God,
which is because they've been around since '89, right?
Yeah,
and they just have. If you're thinking about people that work hard in the industry and just like have a passion for music and continue to do it despite like global success, right? They find success in their own ways. Like, it is very inspiring. And what's cool, it's like a lot of these Neue Deutsche Harte guys, you'll listen to their mix and be like, holy crap, that's some of the best production I've ever heard. They are so accessible. Like, I've reached out to Flux and been like, can you listen to this? And he's like, yeah, dude. I'm just
And they have like a huge pride in their unique sounds too. Like making their guitar tone that sounds like them, making a drum tone that sounds like them. And that's, to me, a little less heard over here, like where a lot of things start sounding the same.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's a cool big thing a lot of people really could use to absorb from that genre, is like, what makes Rammstein is because that guitar tone, sounds insane and is uniquely theirs. Insane. And like Risa, the production that went into his drum sound, they had like 20 mics on the kit in this like
it's crazy
old, like,
and they're like, it's funny because it's like people try to mimic what they do now with like samples, but it's like they were just like playing this stuff. They were just like amazing. They were that good.
Yeah,
it's cool. Yeah, it's inspiring.
Yep.
So
I mean, I always, if you listen to this podcast, I go on and on about how I think Europeans are just the best musicians of all time.
Dude, they just understand how personal it is. They understand how it's theirs and it's their art and their craft, and like they want it to sound really good and they want it to sound like their own. And there's a lot to learn there from that. In my opinion.
I mean, how many bands these days? I mean, are influenced by Swedish death metal bands and
oh my God, At the
Norwegian
Gates and
bands.
Meshuggah basically go on the Mount Rushmore, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like
that's an entire genre that they've influenced, right?
I mean, if you ask me, metalcore, I mean, obviously metalcore was big in the late 90s in the US, but when bands like Caliban came out or Heaven Shall Burn, like them bands are so influential to what is nowadays too. It's crazy because they're both two German bands right there. I mean, Caliban to me,
I love Caliban so much.
Like, yeah, their first few albums, like the Mega Mosh stuff that they did, all like, dude, so many people ripped that shit, and they could not do it as good as Caliban did it. Obviously, Caliban nowadays is kind of but
I agree.
Them like Small Boy, Gray Heaven, Vent, them records are fucking. You cannot replicate them records.
Dude, I remember in high school, like the metalcore I was listening to before I heard Caliban, I was like, okay, this is heavy. And then I heard Caliban and I was like, fuck, this is heavy. And then the way they pushed all the American bands to take their music a step further. Like you heard it like immediately every record, like after, you know what I mean?
Yeah, take a band like Dark Tranquillity and shit. Like there's so many bands that rip from that Euro sound, and the musicianship is just so much better over there. And I think what happens to that is Jay brought this up a long time ago, and I didn't know about it, that in Europe, they're actually encouraged to be a musician. Where over here, it's like you gotta fucking be broke to be a musician. Over there, it seems like, hey man, go to college, be a touring musician, and learn how to play guitar.
Yeah, and I think that's government subsidies. Yeah.
I think that's the big thing over there, where it's like you're encouraged to be a musician. Where over here, it's like, all right, where you're gonna eat ramen all day and tour in a fucking shitty van, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, so you get way more musicianship over there. And I think what you guys are talking about with the NDH, it kind of lends to where I'm thinking it's the same thing. Like them guys are like, hey, like we have a thing over here and we're going to make it huge. It's the same thing I'm saying with the metalcore and the death metal over there. It's just
like they're true artists
above. Exactly. It's leagues above what we have here. Yeah. And then when it comes out, everybody over here steals it. You know what I mean? Like At the Gates comes out, then you have Darkest Hour. You got all them bands that just rip it. Unearth, like all these bands, they're great.
Yeah,
but they ripped what was really popular over there. That's just always going to be my consensus. So
I pretty much agree. Yeah.
I mean, to me, there's still no band that sounds like Catatonia, and I'm like, it is like.
Or, I mean, dude,
people try to do it. It's like, no.
You just saw Gojira at the Olympics, dude. Like,
that was amazing.
Like, they are like massive artists and like obviously recognized in France as like artists, impressionable.
Yeah.
They're
groundbreaking artists. They were very proud of them and like what they have to say and what they sound like and how powerful it is. It's like that.
Yes, and yet here. The odds of Metallica ever playing a Super Bowl, which would be the perfect audience for them because it is an aggressive sport with like Metallica even playing Load or Reload would still fit. Never going to happen. Right?
We need Kill Switch at the Olympics.
We need Kill Switch.
I always swore like you have Guar do like the Super Bowl halftime show. Like how insane would that be? Like for a normal American who has no idea what Odorous Orongus comes out like.
But here's the other thing. Look at a band like Dimmu Borgir over there. So where are they from? Is it like Norway? Is it something like that?
Where is Dimmu Borgir from?
I don't know, to be honest.
It's like Sweden, something like that. Jay's gonna look it up, but like over there,
Denmark.
It seems like a band like Dimmu is fucking huge. And
Norway.
Yeah, okay, they're from Norway.
Yeah, Emu Burger. Yeah, yep.
A band like that is huge over there, and it's normal over there. If you said to 9 out of 10 people over here, have you ever heard of Dimmu Borgir? They're going to be like, who? What the fuck is that?
Oh, yeah, they'll have no idea.
I know.
Black metal gods? Dimmu Borgir, like, how do you not know?
You don't know that? But it's the art. And
there's still people that haven't heard of Cradle of Filth. I mean,
dude. I don't think people here recognize the artistry of it. So they they push it aside. And it's like, if you were just like, someone who, a culture that appreciated art, you would be able to see the art in it and respect it even if you didn't like it. I think right over there they do.
That's the whole
government
point.
Programs, right? Like look at look at Sweden, right? They've got, on one hand, you've got Meshuggah. On the other hand, you've got Rotten Sound, right? There is a government grant that they get for making the music they make. Can you imagine, like, American taxpayers, like like some jackhole is talking about PBS, right? Like, can you imagine if Rotten Sound gets up and like, look, this is the band we're funding? And I mean, I don't know if you guys ever see them live, but it's kind of wild because they seem like the nicest guys. Hi, we're Rotten Sound from Sweden. And then they played the most abrasively aggressive music you could ever imagine. And it's like,
dude.
Well, this is kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it's taken way more serious over there. That's why you get the best artists from over there. Like Peter from Hypocrisy, like his production value is ridiculous, dude.
Oh, Peter is amazing. Yeah.
And he's done how many Catatonic albums? Probably 3 at this point. Oh,
totally. Yeah, I mean, his studio he runs is legendary. Yeah, he deserves all the accolades he gets.
Yeah, I just always, and I'm gonna say till the day I die, it's just the music over there is just on another fucking level.
It's different, right? Rotting Christ, shit wormed. They're not even from this fucking planet.
It's
right.
It's just crazy the shit that they produce over there. So you guys being so into the NDH stuff, it's fascinating for me because it's like I've personally only heard one band of it. Not the biggest fan of Rammstein, whatever. I do like some of their stuff, but the way you guys talk about it is crazy and very fascinating to me. So I literally have 7 records in my phone right now I have to listen to tomorrow.
Riza is my favorite record.
Yeah, if you want like something that will translate well for Americans, I feel like Riza is like cool ass.
And it's so fucking heavy.
It is, it's heavy.
It's super heavy.
Mind Tile. There's a keyboard solo that's a crying baby.
Like a wailing, like
jeez,
dude.
The stuff they do on the album is still just like, how did they do that?
Yeah, it's
cool.
nuts.
It's a cool album.
So 2004. See, I would pronounce this Rise, but it's, what is it called again?
Riza.
Okay,
Riza, which in German means rise.
Okay,
so
now I have 8 albums to listen to tomorrow.
All right, so I want to talk about, before we wrap it up, I want to talk about what you guys are working on now, Garrett. So let's start with you. What are you working on these days? What's next up on the agenda, release wise? What's coming?
I'll let you go first.
I released a new single like a month ago called My Self Destroyer, mixed by Austin and Garrett and Talents. And dude, that's been doing. I'm just so.
I think it's your coolest song to date.
I appreciate. I'm trying to get
like better, actually, better, it's so good. Yeah,
people, I've gotten such a great response from it, and I'm gonna be releasing probably at the end of this month another single, and this one's gonna be kind of weird. There's like turntables and kind of going full new metal, kind of symphonic metal as well. Kind of doing that.
It's what it is.
It's an interesting one, but it's good. And and Austin and I have been working a lot on our project Pyrrhic, which I think is I'm hoping it's been blowing my fucking mind. So
I can't wait to show you guys.
I think personally, it's some of the heaviest stuff we've ever done, including my stuff, including Drown. Darkest stuff we've ever done. People we've shown had words like apocalyptic has come out of their mouth. So that's what we've been working on. We're really
very. It's funny because me and Jay took a break from podcasting for like a month because I had some like little health thing going on, and then like we were like, fuck it, we got enough episodes out there. I didn't check the email for a while. Jay didn't check it for a while. And then I finally go on and I see that Garrett sent like the new song, and I'm like, fuck, I feel terrible because it looks like we were just fucking ignoring them and shit.
Yeah, we literally took a month. We took a month off. We were like, yo, he was busy, I was busy. We're like, fuck it. We'll catch up in like, I don't know, we'll catch up in June.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
And we disappeared for a bit. And we had all these emails of like people sending us shit. We're like, oh, we're such scumbags.
Yeah, I was like, you're not. Dude, he probably thinks we're like assholes and shit. Because like, you know, I talk to Austin and stuff on Facebook and stuff, so I know he's always telling me what's going on and stuff. But I felt terrible because I'm like, shit. I'm like, Jay, he sent the new song and we totally just fucking did not.
Yeah, we missed it. Idiots.
You dicks.
So honestly, we weren't being dicks.
No, I know.
That's honestly, that's what I expect usually when I send my songs to people. So the fact you guys ever got back to me is like, oh my god, they've listened to it.
But we
good,
try.
man.
No, we really try to. I mean, Gary from Memridge sends us stuff too. Like we try to hop on it when we can. What Tim and I have noticed is some weird kind of thing, kind of aside. We both have our Instagram shared. We both have the Instagram account on our phones. But if Austin sends a message and Tim opens it on his phone and sees it, I don't see it on my phone.
Yeah.
So it's not like
super
like
weird.
it's not like Facebook Messenger where we both can see it. I like Tim will answer shit and I'll be texting him like, yo, did you get back to this guy? Like, what are we actually doing? Because I got the notification, but when I go to open it, I can't see anything because of the way it's,
interesting.
Zuckerberg, if you're fucking listening, fix that.
Yeah. Meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So we definitely weren't ignoring you. We were like, fuck it, we're taking a month off. And
it's all good, guys. And honestly, you need time, and you need time to heal. Like, but self is top priority. Health is top priority. Like, don't you worry about it. I'm just so glad we're here right now doing this.
But I was dripping blood out of my face for like 4 days straight.
Oh my god, it was a nightmare. You look like it was a Saw episode. We're like, oh, he's like, I gotta go, and I'm like, Jesus, what the
dude, I wanted to ask if you were okay. I wasn't sure. How serious
so
it was.
I was pretty much addicted to Flonase, and it pretty much tore the inside of my nose apart, and I was just gushing blood everywhere. It was fucking terrible, dude.
Oh my god.
Okay, you gotta tell Buman.
Why?
He's addicted to Flonase.
Oh yeah, dude. True.
It's not a good scene.
I was like a crackhead with it, dude.
I'll send you the picture at Tim's sink. He sent me the picture after he cleaned up, and it still looked like a fucking Saw movie. And I was like, "What the
dude? It was crazy, dude."
Yeah.
I lost so much blood. I was like light. It was crazy, dude.
Well, they say the more you use it, the more you need it. It's like one of those. It's like
chapstick. It's like chapstick.
I literally went through like I felt like a crackhead. Like I got off crack and I was like fucking shaking. It's terrible, dude. Like I'm finally getting to the point now where I'm feeling a little better, but like it was crazy.
Thank goodness.
Oh my god.
Getting off of that shit was wild, dude. I was like fiending it. I'm like, I want to just taste it because it's so like it was so good. I'm telling you, man, shit is crazy, dude.
I am so sorry, dude.
No. I mean, I got it situated, thankfully, but dude, I was like, Jay, we just got it. Like, we were supposed to, like, Jay's going to see Slipknot Saturday. I was going to get tickets, but my doctor was like, do not stand outside for a long period of time because it's going to dry you out. Then it can happen again. So I had to literally sell my ticket for that because I was like, I can't take a chance. It's just, it fucked me up.
You don't want to be bleeding at the show.
Exactly.
And or standing there, or Tim standing there on the lawn with a humidifier, like blowing in his face. Like that mental picture is kind of amusing, but not a good look. Right, like a towel over his head. Like not a good look.
Those little spray fans.
Not a good look. Generator.
And over here, the humidity's been so bad, it feels like it's 133 degrees outside. So it's been brutal over here. Man.
Hell no.
So we weren't ignoring you. It was just Tim was fucking bleeding all over the place, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm done. Give me a little."
Glad you're alive, dude.
Thank you.
That's super metal.
Yeah, that is super metal.
Right, we should make that picture the podcast episode. Right, just the cover, just the sink with New Breed in the bottom of the drain.
Oh, dude,
we could do that.
I could send you guys pictures that would horrify you, dude. I have pictures that would horrify you, man.
We do need an album cover still.
We do for our project. That would actually be pretty sick.
Yeah, let me know. I'll send you.
Yeah, if you do like, if you want a cover that plays against type, do like a cheesy European techno album, all four on the floor, and put Tim's like bloody nose pictures on the cover because people are going to see that and they're going to go,
I could write that in a day.
Death metal. This is death metal. They're going to open it up and it's they're going to be like, what is this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're gonna ghost people just like Ghost does. This is black metal. It's not.
Yeah, so we've been just grinding away, man. The last month we've been doing a lot of shit. I'm excited.
I'm excited to hear anything you guys doing because, like I said, I mean, me and Jay always say like how old are you guys, by the way?
I'm 32.
I'm 31.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so you guys are younger, but like I've been saying, me and Jay been saying forever, like you young guys, there's just something in the water nowadays where it's just like the creativity and the musicianship it's fucking way different than it used to be.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like back in the day, it was just like you would get records and you're like, cool, man. But like you guys put out stuff where like it catches my attention right away because it takes a lot for me to like music these days. Like I listen to a lot of stuff and I go, ugh.
He
I've
fucking
heard
hates
that
everything. He hates
4,000
everything.
times. I hate everything.
Dude, I mean, I hate everything, man.
I know, me too.
We're the same way. Like we just
hate it.
I just don't want to make anything that sounds like anything I've already heard. Like
exactly.
And we'll go through lulls where we're sending each other stuff and just like, God, it just sucks. And we get mad at ourselves.
Like I've heard it.
Well, and that's why with this project, so like with this project we're talking about, we like shat out 5 songs like in a week.
Yeah.
And we're like on this, we're like in this realm, we're like, holy shit, what's happening?
We have like 3 more written that
we
need to record.
And it's some of my favorite material. Like they say not to smell your own farts, but some of these songs I'm just listening to on repeat. I'm like, this is so
I'm stoked on it, dude.
Sick.
It's fucking heavy. And
but that's the way it should
be. And
it's cool.
It's cool. It's got a dark, like, I don't know. I wanted to mix some genres I haven't mixed before.
Well, and each song kind of genre bends a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, you know, like I would just, and I've told the Drowner guys this a million times. Like I just randomly heard the band and I was just like, hold on a fucking second. Like, where is this band from? And then when the funny thing is when I seen where you guys were from, I was like, oh Jesus Christ, like
I do
fucking Portland in that area.
Another metalcore band.
We're trying to bring back,
but then like you know,
the Northwest.
Yeah, it's like I get to know you guys and I listen to it. I'm like, these guys have like you guys have like a special sound going on, and like I'm not just saying that. And I've told these guys, me and Jay have told you guys and them guys this a million times. Like we're not just saying it because you're on the show, blah blah blah. You guys have a special thing going on, and I have seriously said this. Jay has said this. You guys put out a record. It might be hard to break my album of the year. Seriously, because the songs I've heard,
what we've heard is
amazing.
really good, really good.
It's getting close. I've spent like, so we were, we had the first 2 songs, and I was still trying to dial the guitar tone. And me and Buman had a session one day and like got it like perfect. And I closed the session and lost the fucking guitar tone.
Oh God. I
spent like the last 3 months trying to get it back to where I liked it. Yeah. And just literally like the last couple weeks, I was like, oh my God, this is it. So I'm like,
well, as humans, we ebb and flow. And like, honestly, that was I would say that was like, if you're looking at Austin's trajectory of emotions when that happened, it's hard. Well, it's truly hard to get inspired again. And I'm not with Drowner, but in like being around it and hearing Drowner from an outside source and just being able to be Austin's cheerleader in that and be like, dude, the shit sounds fucking good. You're going to find the guitar tone again.
And I'm like, no.
And then it was crazy because it was when you got re-inspired again with some of the stuff we were doing. You're like, I'm back, baby. I found the tone. I'm back. Yeah. So now Austin's been on fire. I'm sure you're going to finish that Drowner album.
Yeah, it's in the home stretch now because that was the biggest hurdle. Was like, I just want to be really happy with that guitar sound because it's got to sound fucking heavy. If that guitar sound ain't right, the record's not going to sound right.
Right. And if I was going to spoil anything, it sounds fucking sick. Big spoiler. Big spoiler.
You know, the craziest thing is we got sent a track like 2 weeks ago. Because Austin was just like, I can't hide it from you guys, whatever. And like the cool thing is like we weren't asking him for it. We were just like big fans of the band, but he sends it and I'm like, Jay, listen to that track and tell me.
Yeah, we stopped an episode. We stopped an episode, paused it, pulled it up, listened to it, talked shit, then went right back into the episode we were recording. Yeah.
I'm like, tell me this is not Linkin Park reincarnated with heavier, like melodic parts. Because it's like if you pull the best parts of Deftones, the best parts of Linkin Park together and you mash it, you guys kind of fucking nailed it, man.
Dude,
it's literally fucking perfect, dude.
I don't think I can say the song name yet We haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah, Human might kill me if I set it out.
Who is it? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what he said.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah, but
is that the one you guys are like?
There's a song that begins with an O. I won't say it. That I literally think is your guys' best song. It's fucking phenomenal.
Dude, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Are there vocals of that one yet?
Yeah. Did we have vocals on the one he sent?
That starts with an O.
It
Okay.
starts with an O.
Next to me. I haven't even heard the vocals.
No.
Dude,
it starts with an O.
I know what it is.
I'll say it when we stop recording, then you'll know what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
But
the coolest thing about this album is the things that we put out so far to like what you hear from then on in the album is on. I don't think you're gonna expect it either.
No.
And that's gonna be the coolest. That's what I'm the most excited about. Is like the direction that it goes from the beginning to the end. I think it's gonna blow. I don't want to toot my horn, but I really want it. I want it to like blow people's minds. I want it to be an experience, not just
I am convinced right now there's a window open right now, and it's slow, and God knows how long it's going to be open for. But I was talking to Tim, right? So look at the success of that Limp Bizkit tour. Like I went to the show in Jersey. It was sold out. The demographics were not what I was expecting. Right. So that was huge.
They never are.
the Slipknot show, the tour that just kicked off last night, the sold out. They played all their old stuff. You have the Marilyn Manson tour that he's doing where he's opening for, what was it, Five Finger? They had that whole show was on YouTube, and he sounded like it was 99 again. You have the Deftones just played Lollapalooza, and Chino was skinny and in shape, and his voice sounded good. And like, there's a moment right now where all this stuff that it's not even nostalgia. It's just dusting it off and realizing that it never really went away and there's still some talent there.
Exactly.
And I truly think striking in the moment, you're gonna blow a hole in an opportunity somewhere. There's gonna be something out there because it's just right now it's what everybody's talking about, right? Like I could not believe there were people that were 14 at this fucking Limp Bizkit concert. And I'm looking around and I'm like, holy shit. Like I was expecting all old heads.
Like all over TikTok, and it's
I was expecting old heads, people my age, and like there were young kids there like having a great time. And I'm like, this is pretty fucking cool if I do say so myself.
Yeah, dude. And to what Jay's saying, like, and Garrett on your stuff, like, I think your driving force on your stuff is your voice. Your voice, like, carries them songs, man.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it, dude.
There's something about the way you deliver it that it's just something about the way you deliver your lyrics and your voice that just it fits the music so fucking well, dude. So keep doing what you're doing on that point because that is. I mean, and I'm not saying the rest of the music's not good because it is, but your voice carries that shit really well, man.
Oh, dude, thank you so much. Which I'm going to say next song is going to be featuring a certain somebody. Also, my next single was going to be featuring Austin. Well. Did all the harmonies. He did some sick gutturals. But dude, I appreciate that. I mean, that's we're each other's best cheerleaders, right? It's to take a compliment, but Austin will be like, dude, your voice has just gotten so much better. I'm like, thanks.
No, seriously, man. And I've only known you I've just met Austin, but like I've known you for what now, a couple months, and the more stuff you send, I'm impressed with the shit you guys are doing. Seriously, man.
Thanks,
man.
What's so interesting talking about what you guys are saying with these new metal bands in this window. I think like we haven't really talked about this, but in my theory of what is happening is now that time has gone on, when art first hits, right? When Van Gogh first does a painting and he doesn't sell anything in his lifetime and he dies, right? And then as time goes on, you realize that art has more to compare it to, right? As music and metal has released more stuff after that time, we now have a lot more to compare it to. And I think people are realizing how great the artistry and just how amazing and well written those songs are
compared to all the shit
afterwards. People are like, oh damn, these bands, people made fun of them and they called them white trash and they said they weren't artists. Like, oh, now that we have this contrast, oh, this is like the stuff.
Shit was revolutionary.
It's amazing to talk to young people who are like discovering Korn for the first time. They're just like, wow, this is like, It's good music, guys.
Yeah,
yes,
Welcome.
it's just good music. All right, so we're running long, so we want to thank Austin and Garrett for coming on again. We are going to link a playlist to our New Breed podcast Spotify playlist, so show up and give it a listen. We want to thank these guys for coming on again and having a good time. Check this NDH stuff out. Please let us know what you think. New Breed _ podcast, both Twitter and Instagram, newbreedpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to leave voicemail, it's 267-297-4627. So on behalf of all of our guests and Tim and myself, I want to thank Austin and Garrett for coming on. On behalf of Austin, Garrett, myself, and everybody else, we want to thank you all for watching and listening. Until next week, 12 p.m. new episode. Cheers.
Later.